From Citizen TV, this is the Monday Report with Trevor Ombija.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Thank you so much for staying with Citizen TV. And like you've heard, you're just in time for Monday Report. Later on, we'll have a conversation and the age-old question we are asking, are Kenyans becoming increasingly intolerant or are they simply aggrieved? You must have seen the rage online on specific issues. Some leaders are complaining that even simple empathy doesn't happen anymore among Kenyans. Even death, which was a taboo topic, nowadays seems to be celebrated online by some people. Are Kenyans getting more intolerant or are they simply aggrieved? How much is to blame on the leaders? How can we change that trajectory? So many questions, very little time, but we'll speak to Professor Kivutha Kibwana, former governor for Makueni. Dr. Danvas Makori will be here. He's a commissioner for NCIC, and Reverend Canon Evans Omolo, provost at All Saints Cathedral. We'd like to hear from you at Trevor Ombija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Monday Report. But before we get into that conversation, here are top stories tonight. 4 suspects linked to Kasipul MP killing detained for 30 days to allow for further investigations as prosecution reveals fresh details on the assassination.
We have accused only 4 people. We don't know what happened with the 7th one, but I know our judge knows what will happen.
We therefore urge the judiciary to ensure that the cases against the 4 officers who took plea today are expedited. 4
police officers charged with Baby Pendo's murder during 2017 post-election violence.
Wacha kutuletea mambo ya siasa duni ya ukabila. Ati nyinyi mnaungana kwa sababu ya mambo ya chuki na mambo ya ukabila, ati na mambo ya migawanyiko.
They are tribalists. President Ruto dismisses Gachagua and his new political allies a day after their Wamunyoro forum. Broken seats, destruction inside and outside Gusii Stadium as police launch probe into violence during Gor Mahia Shabana March. Thanks for tuning in. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Yulan Zale. Tonight we begin with the fresh details regarding the assassination of Kasipul lawmaker Charles Ong'ondo Were, where 4 suspects linked to his killing were for the first time presented before the JKIA Magistrate Court. Presiding Magistrate Irene Gishobi granted the prosecution prayers sought to hold the suspects for 30 more days to conclude the investigations, which prosecution said included tracking down additional suspects, among them a police officer said to be connected to the killing. Citizen TV's Ben Kirui with the details.
These are some of the faces linked to the brutal killing of Kasipul Member of Parliament Charles Ong'ondo Were, among them an administrative police officer. The officer, who is believed to have orchestrated the murder, allegedly used a newly registered phone number to communicate with the assailants. That number, now deactivated, was registered under a different name. This revelation is among the critical details being investigated by authorities, who have requested additional time to keep the suspects in custody and finalize their probe.
We request that they be remanded at each one of the 4 of them separately at different police stations within Nairobi. Of course, these are gazetted police stations.
The extended detention period will allow investigators to follow up on crucial leads and piece together the puzzle surrounding Were's death. On Monday, a day after their arrest, the 4 suspects were presented before the JKIA court. According to police, these individuals are integral to the case, with one William Imoli Shigali, also known as Omar Shakur, being accused of firing the fatal shot. Imoli, a man with alleged ties to extremist groups, is reported to be a member of the notorious Mujahideen gang. Imoli was arrested at a popular entertainment spot in Roysambu, where he was with the 2 other men, Douglas Mushiri Wambogo and David Mihigo Kagame. The trio guided detectives to the home of Juma Ali Hikal, an administration police officer who was found with a vehicle used in the assassination. Court proceedings revealed that all suspects were in communication before and after the murder, with several witnesses confirming their presence at the crime scene. CCTV footage, which has been instrumental in the investigation, captured William Imoli on Wabera Street observing MP Were. Imoli was seen carrying a bag believed to contain the weapon used in the killing and wearing police boots that were later found at the home of the detained officer Juma Ali Hikal.
Following these events, the team of officers proceeded to review thousands of minutes of CCTV footage with a view of putting together the pieces of evidence that will unravel the last minutes of the MP's life.
Further investigations at the officer's residence uncovered ammunition, tear gas canisters, and other items now being analyzed by forensic experts at Imoli's home. Police uniforms were recovered, $4,800, approximately 619,000 shillings in cash, and a number of mobile phones, all of which are now being analyzed. Police say they are working to track down additional individuals, including the motorcycle rider involved in the escape and others suspected of communicating with the suspects. Authorities have described the investigation as highly complex, revealing that the crime appears to be linked to an organized criminal enterprise with significant financial resources and the determination to carry out targeted land killings. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, a post-mortem examination on the body of the slain Member of Parliament has revealed that he died due to multiple internal organ injuries. Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Oduor, who conducted the autopsy at the Lee Funeral Home, said that the MP was shot 5 times with bullets penetrating his internal organs. The post-mortem examination was also attended by family lawyers led by Apollo Mboya and Peter Koperi and DCI homicide boss Martin Nyuguto.
Mheshimiwa Charles was shot a total of 5 times. There were 2 entry gunshot wounds on the left forearm, with 1 bullet lodged in the same forearm. 1 exited. There was also 2 entry bullet wounds on the left side of the chest, with an exit on the right side, but 1 lodged in the spine. Then there was a bullet track on the back, with the entry on the left side of the upper back, with the bullet head lodged on the left side of the upper back, which we took the samples for analysis, ballistics. Further to that, we found that there were multiple internal injuries in the vital organs. We saw that the bullet tracked through the heart, the lungs, the liver, and the aorta, meaning that the late Mheshimiwa could not survive the injuries caused by the gunshot.
Let's stay with security matters, and 4 police officers have been charged with the murder of baby Samantha Pendo during the 2017 post-election violence. Among those facing prosecution include John Chengo Masha and Lina Kogei, high-ranking officers who were in charge of operations during the chaos in Kisumu. The Director of Public Prosecutions has approved charges against the 4 and directed 8 officers to record statements as prosecution witnesses following a comprehensive review of the case files, a move that has since been condemned by baby Pendo's family and a section of human rights organizations, as Safin Achieng Ouma now reports.
It's been 8 years since the brutal murder of 6-month-old baby Samantha Pendo and several other civilians who fell victim of excessive police force during protests that followed the disputed 2017 presidential election. Despite the compelling inquest findings, which pointed directly to police culpability, plea-taking for the accused officers has been delayed and deferred on numerous occasions, leaving families of victims and survivors in painful suspense. A disturbing suspense that baby Pendo's mother hoped would end as she anxiously followed the proceedings in a packed courtroom on Monday, where 4 police officers finally took plea before Justice Margaret Muigai. Among those facing prosecution include John Chengo Masha, who has been charged with serious crimes against humanity, including murder, rape and torture.
You, first accused, John Chengo Masha, fails to take all necessary and reasonable measures within your power to prevent or suppress the unlawful killing of BSP.
Lina Kosgei, also faced similar charges of murder, rape and torture in connection with events that took place in 2017. At times she was serving as the officer commanding Nyalenda Police Post. Other officers, Robbie Wankio and James Rono, were also charged with rape and torture. The four pleaded not guilty to 1 count of murder, 11 counts of rape and 38 counts of torture. The court was also informed that the 11th suspect, Mohamed Ba, a retired officer linked to the murder of baby Samantha Pendo, remains at large.
His houses remain under rock with no trace of human movement.
The DPP approved charges against the 4 police officers and further directed that 8 police officers record statements as prosecution witnesses. Relieved by the latest development, baby Pendo's mother termed the formal plea taking a significant milestone in her long wait for accountability, which seemed elusive. She, however, took issue with what she claimed to be the dropping of charges against 8 other suspects in the case.
We are here representing many people who experienced bad thing in 2017. Those mothers who were raped, those who lose their property, those who lose their family members, more so those people who experience torture and pain. We have accused only 4 people. We don't know what happened with the 7th one, but I know our judge knows what will happen.
The charge omits senior police officers who held overall command responsibility during the operations that saw the deaths, rape, and injuries of no less than 60 Kenyans in Kisumu County.
We therefore urge the judiciary to ensure that the cases against the 4 officers who took plea today are expedited.
The case will be mentioned on 12th May 2025 for further directions. Safin Achieng Oma, Citizen TV.
Let's talk about politics now. President William Ruto has dismissed an alliance in the making between his former deputy Rigathi Gachagua and several opposition leaders, terming it an outfit advancing tribalism. The president, who is on his 2nd day of tour in Migori County, said that he's focused on uniting the country to create a conducive environment for economic prosperity. Ayub Abdikadir has the details.
A day after his key lieutenants dismissed the alliance in the works between former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and opposition leaders Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, and former Interior CS Fred Matiang'i.
Mama County, how are you, my dear? Very good.
The president said the opposition outfit will not succeed with its tribal narrative, saying the government is focused on delivering its agenda.
Wacha tuunganishe Kenya. Kenya ni yetu sisi zote. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa sehemu hii. Sawa sawa? Mimi nawauliza, vile tulikubaliana na baba tuunganishe Kenya hii. Mnasema tuendelee ama tuendelee?
Sisi tumeamua tufanye pamoja na rais. Tumeamua tukiwa county assembly, tukiwa national parliament, tukiwa ugavana, na nyinyi mmeamua pia.
President Ruto, using his day 2 of Migori County tour, defending his broad-based arrangement with ODM's Raila Odinga as one that was meant to cure politics of tribe and division.
Ngojeni wacha kutuletea mambo ya siasa duni ya ukabila. Ati nyinyi mnaungana kwa sababu ya mambo ya chuki na mambo ya ukabila, ati na mambo ya migawanyiko.
Umenikaribisha karibu mkizungumza na baba ili nikusaidia. Umeshika hiyo sword na mimi nashika sword. Ukikata hivi, mimi nakata hivi.
That President Ruto has brought in this region. Therefore, as a people, we have decided to stay with him and support his cause for now, forever. Thank you so much.
On day 2 of his visit to the county, the president inspected and commissioned several projects, including Rio Sir Market, the 1.9 billion Kenya shillings Migori last mile connectivity project, and the construction of Muhuru Bay Pier.
The landing site in Muhuru Bay.
Ayub Abdikadir, Citizen TV.
When viewing it from outside.
Now, members of the public across the country are backing a bill seeking to entrench the National Government Constituency Development Fund, the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and the Senate Oversight Fund into law, citing benefits reaped from NGCDF and GAF over the years. The public participation, said to be conducted in all the 290 legislative units for the next 3 days, comes amid opposition to the bill by ODM leader Raila Odinga. Kamau Mwangi has the details.
They turned up in their numbers in their respective representatives' offices around the country with one goal in mind: to ensure the NGCDF, NGAF and the Senate Oversight Fund are legal. The exercise that kicked off early Monday saw a majority of the MPs join their voters, most of whom have been beneficiaries of either NGCDF or NGAF, monies they do not want taken away from them.
Huyu mbunge anajua yule mtu mlala hoi hoi goi kule chini, anajua huyu mzazi hajiwezi na anasaidia, hizi pesa zinasaidia, hizi pesa zikitoka za basari.
Wale ambao wanapinga mambo ya CDF, mimi nafikiri hawa hawajasaa, na kama wamesaa walikosea.
Basari ni mingi, kuna ya presidential atuoni, kuna ya county atuoni, lakini ya mbunge Mheshimiwa Kimilu tunapata sisi wote.
While calling out ODM leader Raila Odinga for backing the abolishment of the NGCDF that has been operational for the last 23 years, legislators who joined their constituents have defended the fund, maintaining it is the most impactful fund at the grassroots level.
Mimi hata ningesema hata kama ni mambo ya barabara ingawanishwe hivyo per constituency. Kama ni mambo ya stima ingawanishwe per constituency. Kama ni mambo ya hospitali ingawanishwe per constituency. Hiyo inasafanya maendeleo ifikie mwananchi.
Tumekubali kwamba pesa hii iwekwe katika katiba ya Kenya ili itoke na ichungwe na katiba ya Kenya nchi hii. So hii maneno ingine ya kusema NGCDF itapotea, inapotea kwenda wapi?
Na ile nimesikia kwa sauti kubwa mumesema iko sawa lakini haitoshi. Ni kweli au si kweli? Si tunagawanga basari na nyinyi na haitoshi.
Wakenya, kila Mkenya mahali yako apitisha hii pesa ikie kwa hata ikie kwa katiba. Ikuwe inasaidia Mkenya, sababu Mkenya si mwenye ako huko juu. Mkenya ni mwenye ako hapa chini, especially kama wale watu waga tunaongoza hapa chini.
The exercise resumes Tuesday, with all 290 constituencies expected to have given views by close of business Wednesday. Kamau Mwangi, Citizen TV.
Now, the High Court of Kenya has declared collection of biometric data from Kenyans by cryptocurrency firm WorldCoin as unlawful, citing the company's failure to conduct a mandatory data protection impact assessment. Justice Roslyn Aburili ordered a permanent deletion of all biometric data collected using its eye-scanning ORB devices within 7 days. Emily Chebet has the details.
The judgment by Roslyn Aburili ordering the permanent deletion of WorldCoin's biometric data that was unlawfully collected from Kenyans marks a significant moment in the country's push for stronger data protection. Monday's ruling also prohibited the company from processing the data further without conducting a proper data protection impact assessment and obtaining informed consent from users. This court decision follows public uproar in 2023 when thousands of Kenyans queued outside the Kenyatta International Convention Center and across Nairobi Central Business District. At the time, many were eager to have their eyes and faces scanned by WorldCoin's biometric ORBS with the promise of receiving cryptocurrency worth up to 7,000 Kenya shillings. The turnout was massive, and the scene of long winding queues quickly drew the attention of human rights defenders and authorities. Just days into the exercise, the government intervened and suspended the project, citing serious national security concerns and potential risk of personal data privacy. During the hearing, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner told the court that WorldCoin's operation violated Section 25 of Kenya's Data Protection Act, which outlines principles such as fairness, transparency, and accountability in handling personal data. In a sworn affidavit, Deputy Data Commissioner Oscar Otieno said he had reviewed WorldCoin's activities in the country and found the project to be unsafe for Kenyan citizens. The firm is expected to delete the data within 7 days under the supervision of the Data Commissioner. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV.
Now, 3 suspects linked to a widespread electronic fraud network in the country will remain in custody for 10 days to facilitate investigations and assist in apprehending 18 additional individuals involved in the scheme. As Ode Francis now reports, the suspects, Peter Kariuki Madhi, Isaac Mugo Kanini, and David Nganga Masharia, are accused of hacking into a complainant's bank account and stealing over 3 million shillings through unauthorized transactions.
Following a decision by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI to publicly release images of the suspects, 21 individuals identified as key figures in the fraud were declared wanted. This led to a breakthrough in the investigations, resulting in the arrest of 3 individuals who have since been presented in court. Documents presented before the court have unveiled critical details about the syndicate's operations. In a shocking case of cyber fraud, a Nairobi resident, Hassan, has fallen victim to a meticulously orchestrated scheme, losing close to 3.2 million shillings. While driving along Rescos Road en route to Pangani, Hassan's vehicle was forcibly struck on both sides by unidentified men. Believing it to be a mere accident, he was blindsided when their assailants robbed him of iPhone 16 Pro Max, valued at 178,000 shillings. The perpetrators swiftly vanished, leaving behind a digital trail that would expose a web of financial deception. Upon gaining access to Hassan's phone, the fraudsters linked it to a Safaricom SIM card registered under his name. Moments later, a series of unauthorized transactions drained his bank accounts. In the first hack, investigators traced illicit transfer from Hassan's Equity Bank account to a national bank account under the name Frederick M. Wairimu, siphoning 50,000 and 299,500 shillings. Additional funds were funneled into a consolidated bank account where 150,000 shillings and 190,000 shillings were deposited under the same name. A cooperative bank account linked to Brian Mashane received 299,500,000 shillings, while another account under Brian Obaye Kiveo received 499,500,000 shillings. Altogether, a staggering 1.48 million shillings was funneled through these 3 accounts. Further scrutiny revealed a second hack, where more than 400,000 shillings was withdrawn from Hassan's Equity Bank account. The funds were initially transferred to his own mobile number, now under the suspect's control, before being rerouted to an encrypted Safaricom M-Pesa account, which is yet to be reviewed by service providers. The fraud syndicate expanded its operations to Absa Bank, where a significant sum of money was siphoned into multiple accounts, including I&M Bank, with the recipient of Boniface Kimberly Maina, Cooperative Bank recipient John Eric, Stanbic Bank recipient Jumbo Pay Trust, and Consolidated Bank. Additionally, more than 500,000 was wired to 7 Safaricom M-Pesa contacts, further expanding the fraud network. In total, Hassan lost a staggering 3.2 million shillings.
In the circumstances, the court allows the police to hold the suspect for only 10 days to enable them complete their investigations.
Upon arrest, the suspects led investigators to Ruiru town, where a second suspect was apprehended. A search yielded multiple Safaricom SIM cards, registration gadgets, counterfeit US dollars, and array of ATM bank cards, including 2 linked to the alleged perpetrators, Boniface Maina and Frederick Wairimu Maina. Now, as detectives sought 10 days to complete the investigation on the 3, 18 more are still at large, with detectives at the DCI sending a wanted message to the 18 who are still at large and linked to the fraud. Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Makadara, Nairobi County.
Now, police in Kisii have launched an investigation into the violent scenes that erupted at Gusii Stadium on Sunday, leaving more than 70 people injured and significant property damaged. A spot check at the venue reveals staggering levels of destruction both inside and outside the stadium. As both teams engage in a blame game over who instigated the mayhem, the situation remains tense. Crispin Otieno has the details.
On Monday morning, Gusii Stadium was a scene of cleanup and recovery, with workers sweeping through the debris left in the wake of Sunday's chaotic scenes. The damage was extensive. Broken bottles, stones and empty water cans were strewn across the stands and playing field. A stark reminder of the violence that broke out. Scattered shoes on the terraces told their own story. Evidence of panic, a stampede, and moments of fear that gripped fans. Evidence of panic, a stampede, and moments of fear that gripped fans during the Gor Mahia Shabana match.
Meeting. We all agree.
Among those tasked with cleaning is Vanessa Kwamboka, who shares the overwhelming experience of trying to restore order.
Mawe imejaa kwa uwanja, viatu vimejaa, na hata tunaona hapa kwetu hapa kwa uwanja hapa pamepomolewa, lakini kazi imekuwa nyingi kupita kiasi.
The stadium sports offices were not spared either. Windows shattered, doors forced open, and valuables left strewn in the aftermath. Well, G9 and G10 was the epicenter of chaos yesterday here at Gusii Stadium after both teams tried to occupy them, sparking skirmishes, begging the question, how did that security lapse happen when police officers are supposed to create buffer zone between the two teams? Questions were raised with Kisii County Police Commander Ronald Kirui in a phone interview. Kirui told Citizen TV that a multi-agency investigation is underway to identify the root cause of the violence. His statement was echoed by Football Kenya Federation officials who strongly condemned the acts of hooliganism. In a letter sent to newsrooms, FKF promised that no stone will be left unturned. As the side found culpable, stern action will be taken against them. Earlier, Gor Mahia issued a statement squarely blaming Shabana FC for allowing hooligans and individuals carrying weapons into the pitch, an act they termed a clear breach of the law. They called on FKF officials to take swift action. On the other hand, Shabana FC faulted Kogalo for breaching the seating arrangements despite having been informed well in advance. They also condemned the acts of lawlessness witnessed at the stadium on Sunday. Meanwhile, the 72 people who were rushed to various health facilities were luckily discharged by Monday morning.
The rest of the casualties reported to various facilities in the county, both public and private, and were reliably informed that all of them were treated and discharged.
We received a total of 52 casualties who suffered various injuries in the various parts of the body, ranging from soft tissue injuries, cut wounds, and minor cracks.
Crispin Otieno, Citizen TV, Gusii Stadium, Kisii County.
All right, from Kisii, let's take a quick break here. We'll be back with much more in just a short while. Welcome back. 6 Kenya Wildlife Service officers were today charged with the abduction of a fisherman, Brian Odhiambo, at Lake Nakuru National Park on January 18th. The officers who appeared before Nakuru Court Principal Magistrate Kipkirui Kivelion denied the charge and will be detained at the Nakuru GK prison pending a ruling on their bail. Marian Nyambura has the details.
2 months after a Nakuru High Court dismissed an application compelling the Kenya Wildlife Service to produce the missing fisherman Brian Odhiambo, 6 KWS officers were arraigned in court to answer charges of his abduction.
Yes.
The 6, Francis Gashoki, Alexander Lorogoi, Isaac Ochieng, Michael Wabukala, Evans Kipsang, and Abdulrahman Ali Sudi, were presented before Principal Magistrate Kipkurui Kibelion, where they denied 1 count of abduction with intent to confine the missing fisherman. It is alleged that the officers abducted Brian on January 18th in Bondeni area of Nakuru. The arraignment of the suspects marking a turning point in the case, with KWS earlier saying that its officers arrested a man who escaped before his name was taken. Lawyers defending the 6 officers will have to wait for 7 days for a ruling on the bail application.
The issue as to whether or not the alleged individual disappeared in the hands of KWS is an issue that shall be heard and determined by this honorable court.
We ask you very amply to consider the serious nature of this offense, which could as well turn out to be a murder case. The accused person's official position and training and the power imbalance between the accused persons and the victims, and deny them bond.
They'll give a substantive ruling on that on the 12th of May 2025 at 2:30 p.m. In the meantime, I direct that the defense be supplied with witness statements and all documentary exhibits to be relied on by the prosecution.
His family, that has continued to search for answers surrounding his disappearance inside the Lake Nakuru National Park nearly 3 months ago, claimed in an affidavit that their attempts to have them withdraw from the case. The arrest and subsequent detention of 6 KWS officers has given Brian Odhiambo's family a glimmer of hope that justice may finally be served months after the mysterious disappearance of their kin. Marian Nyambura, Citizen TV, Nakuru.
A Kericho court has ordered a 46-year-old man accused of defiling a 1.5-year-old girl in Chesingori in Bureti to remain in custody for 14 more days. Resident Magistrate Claire Odunga granted the extension to allow completion of medical and forensic investigations. The suspect will be held at Litein police station, where he has been since Friday, as the minor remains hospitalized. The court session drew concerned locals and several leaders who want the case expedited.
In Kericho County, we still have a lot of defilement cases, teenage pregnancy, the gender-based violence, the femicide, and we are calling upon, again, the national government that let's look at this matter because it is really getting out of hand.
If we have existing cases of several years that nothing happens, this has also contributed to having people doing the same mistakes because nothing is happening within our systems. So we are also calling upon those who are in charge of these cases in our courts to take these cases of GBV on a different or on a weighty issue.
Tea farmers from Murang'a County are set to reap higher profits from their produce after the county government unveiled a partnership to brand tea from the county with geographical identifications or indications. Speaking after a tour of tea factories on Monday, France Ambassador to Kenya, Anand Sike, said that the partnership will triple the proceeds of tea farmers from the county. And as Loro Tino now reports, the unveiling was graced by other notable figures, including Equity Bank CEO Dr. James Mwangi, as well as Royal Media Services Chairman Dr. S.K. Macharia.
As more farmers rush to enhance returns from their respective crops, tea farmers from Murang'a County are anticipated to fetch higher returns following a partnership with the French Embassy that will see their tea branded with geographical indications, fetching them premium rates in markets across the globe. Speaking after touring 10 tea factories in the county, Murang'a Governor Irungu Kang'ata lauded the move, which he said will provide an economic lifeline for tea farmers in the county.
So what we are doing is we are now registering intellectual property of the uniqueness of Murang'a, which then will give it a unique value, enable our products' prices to go up once we go out there in the market.
We call it a pilot project, but I think it can go very fast. And it's within this terrain that the identity of the people who are producing can be reflected in a product that is sold globally.
The county is also looking to scale up the GI to other agricultural products and uplift more farmers.
What it will take the farmer is to own and protect their brand. So they will be the custodian of quality, because the quality will define the brand and will define the price the consumer will be willing to pay.
It is us, me included, who went around selling M-Pesa. So is Equity. So we can, once they create the brand, the media comes in. But the farmer must know, must first of all be educated, what are the intentions, what are his benefits, and that is our rule.
Currently, the tea farmers rely on the Mombasa tea auction, and they seek to expand their market and get premium prices for their tea. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
All right, from Murang'a, let's take another quick break. We're back with much more in a short while. Let's talk about business news now. Kenya Power has unveiled a plan to install dozens of electric vehicle charging stations across the country over the next year as the government moves to scale up the e-mobility sector. The utility company says that National Grid is ready to support growing electricity demand from EVs, even as the Energy Ministry pushes Parliament to lift the freeze on new power deals. Wambui Wangoi has more.
Kenya Power is set to roll out 45 new electric vehicle charging stations across 6 counties within the next year. The stations will be installed in Nairobi, Nyeri, Kisumu, Eldoret, Nakuru, Mombasa, and Taita Taveta. 6 of the 45 charging stations are set for installation at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. The announcement was made at the 3rd Annual E-Mobility Conference and Expo hosted by Kenya Power in partnership with GIZ and the Electric Mobility Association of Kenya.
Our whole intention is really to spur the uptake of this particular transition and also to provide the commitment. If there are those who are fearing that should I adopt it, what then would happen in as far as infrastructure is concerned? We are here to say we are willing to support you to provide that infrastructure.
Currently, the nearly 10,000 registered EVs in the country account for only 0.2% of the 3 million vehicles in the country. Motorcycles make up about 90% of all EVs. To support this growing fleet, the government plans to deploy 10,000 charging stations nationwide by 2030 in partnership with the private sector.
We come in more as a facilitator, and we are not competing, lest somebody sees our participation as that of competing against the private sector.
And despite the additional demand e-mobility places on the grid, the government insists the country's power system is sufficient to meet it. The Ministry of Energy is lobbying Parliament to lift the moratorium on new power purchase agreements to meet long-term demand.
In terms of grid preparedness, yes, I can look Kenyans in the eyes and tell you that we have had a stable grid, and I am sure you can be able to confirm that, and we are looking to ensure that that is sustained.
But even with the exponential growth, industry players like the Electric Mobility Association of Kenya warn that high upfront costs, limited charging infrastructure, and regulatory uncertainty remain key barriers to adoption.
Our proposals, our fiscal incentive proposal from EMAC is just we are looking for 3 years incentives, then go back and start paying all the taxes. So this is not a through pass that throughout will have all the incentives throughout. So it's just a limited time to accelerate growth and then go back to start paying taxes.
Over the last few years, it is clear that the Kenyan sentiment towards electric mobility is shifting. Today, over 10,000 electric vehicles are plying the roads here in the country. Now, this includes 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers, and 4-wheelers. For Citizen TV, I am Wambui Wangoi at KICC.
Now, players in the insurance sector are advocating for an increase in policyholder compensation if an insurance company goes under. According to the Policyholder Compensation Fund, the body mandated to effect the compensation under the National Treasury. The capping of compensation at only 250,000 shillings is minimal and disadvantages claimants who have been adversely affected and whose sum assured runs into millions of shillings. The sector is now calling on Kenyans to submit proposals in the ongoing drafting of the PCF bills to anchor it in law. Jimmy Mbogo has the details.
Insurance firms may soon be forced to part with more to guarantee the security of policies should they run into financial trouble leading to cancellation of their licenses. Should a proposal by the Policyholder Compensation Fund sail through, farms may be forced to contribute more than 0.5% of the premium cost to the Policyholder Compensation Fund. The fund, which is seeking input on how to increase the maximum compensation from the current 250,000 cap, says the amount is too little.
Whenever a company went down initially, there was nobody to cushion you. But now, PCF is there to cushion you, to compensate. Though the amount is a little, as the Commissioner said, we are working on the figures to raise them up as contributions increase.
Compensation amount of 250,000 may not be adequate. It is a place to begin with, and I'm sure that in the coming days that amount will be looked into with a view to increasing and making it easier for many policyholders to get compensation. That it may not be adequate, because I know most sum assureds are in excess of, there are millions of shillings, but the compensation of 250 is a big challenge to bridge that gap.
The insurance sector, which boasts of assets under management of over 1 trillion shillings and over 2% in contribution to GDP, called for the adoption of new technologies to further deepen the sector's contribution to the economic well-being of the nation through innovative products that cater to emerging needs of underwriters.
We are also doing advocacy in policy to ensure that compensation levels and funding models remain effective, sustainable, and aligned with evolving industry needs.
Our ultimate aspiration is to move from being a reactive competitor to a proactive risk minimizer, a principle embraced by the most effective insurance guarantee schemes globally.
Since its inception, Policyholder Compensation Fund has compensated claimants of Blue Shield Insurance, Explico Insurance and Invesco Insurance, which are under statutory management. Further, PCF has assured claimants of improved turnaround times following the automation of claim filing. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
We are enjoying.
Now, the government says that 13 county aggregation and industrial parks out of 18 targeted in the first phase will be complete and operational by the end of June this year. The parks are part of a national initiative to boost local industrialization under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda implemented by the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry in collaboration with the county governments. The parks are designed to support smallholder farmers and local producers through value addition, agro-processing and job creation. To fast-track the rollout, the Kakamega County government, in partnership with One Acre Fund and other partners, is planning the Western Region KIPES Investment Conference, now set for between July and September this year.
So once we're seeing increased production, there will be a need for additional processing facilities around the country, and that's where the county aggregation industrial parks can come into play to allow investors to develop new processing facilities.
And of course, more importantly, issues around efficient utilization of shared resources. When you look at the location of those county industrial parks, we are looking at going beyond the counties.
Industry is not one of the areas we focused in the past, and that explains why our contribution to global wealth is at 2%. So if you want to change those numbers, we must do things a bit differently.
The fashion industry in Kenya is experiencing immense growth, with new trends taking center stage every day. One such trend is wearable jewelry, especially among celebrities on big occasions. To meet this demand, Sharon Wendo founded Epika Jewelry to make Africa jewelry with a modern touch, and has since dressed some of the well-known names in the entertainment industry in Kenya and beyond. Edward Chwea tells us how Sharon makes the jewelry in our Made in Kenya segment.
In 2018, Sharon Wendo's journey into entrepreneurship began when she joined the Kenya Youth Empowerment Project, a government-led initiative aimed at boosting employment for young Kenyans. Having learned beadwork, she founded Epika Jewelry to make wearable jewelry to complement the fashion industry in Kenya.
I started at Brown seriously back in 2018 after doing like a program called the Kenya Youth Empowerment Project. And I got like a 3-month internship where I learned like basic beading. I've always loved fashion. I'm a very visual person. So I was doing a lot of research when it comes to beading because I already had like the basic skills. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much I can do with beading. Why don't I just try and see what I can do? So it was sort of like a risk of me starting the business and just fell in love with the whole process. We make and create wearable jewelry, basically inspired by different cultures.
From body pieces to chokers, caps and bracelets, Sharon spends tens of hours designing and making the products from beads and thread sourced locally with the help of our business partner.
It's a lot of work, it's tedious, and I feel like it's a luxury product. So even changing mindsets and how people see beading and see like beaded work and art form. Everything that we use, it's sourced locally. I sketch first. I have an idea, I will sketch, I will have my book, I'll sketch, I have a mood board in terms of the direction I want to go. We work on order because we also have different bodies, we're very different as women, so we make things according to your size.
Wearable jewelry is not a very common phenomenon, especially in most parts of the country. How do you think this unique venture that you are running has impacted the fashion industry in the country?
I feel like it has really evolved when people see our pieces. They wear it, it's an everyday thing. I feel like people should wear beads every day. It's more about us also educating the masses in terms of like how people think about beading. So that's what I'm wearing. So it's like it's very regular, you know, and that has been such a beautiful journey because most of my market are Kenyans who really appreciate what we're doing and actually buy from us. So that's a good thing.
Sharon has styled some of the big names in the entertainment industry in Kenya and beyond. She says this has helped to grow her brand and indeed her confidence.
Working with artists, working with celebrities is a good thing for business. It's really good because it gives you a lot of credibility as a business. The biggest will be Yemi Alade. Yeah, she wore our pieces during Afro Nation in Puerto Rico a couple of years ago. And also we've styled quite a number of like local celebrities. We've styled your own Yvonne Okwara. We've styled Kambua. We've styled quite a number of people. It's nice because I feel like we're all in the same ecosystem. It does help in terms of like it adds value to both of us when you work with people within the same industry.
Sharon leverages social media to market her products, and her hope is that one day Epica Jewelry will be a continental powerhouse.
It's Epica Jewelry on all platforms, and mostly people find us on Instagram, they'll find us on LinkedIn. I want us to be the benchmark of jewelry design in the continent because we have the potential, and I believe we'll be everywhere. You will see us everywhere.
Epica Jewelry has been around since 2018, and as Sharon says, she started this out of her passion for the African culture. Her hope is that this will help to boost the fashion industry in the country and beyond. Edward Chweya, Made in Kenya, Citizen TV.
Thank you.